Yo, what's up guys? It's Noah here. In today's video, we're going to take a look at the MLB slate on Draftkings and Yahoo for Monday, August the 10th. We have a 9-game slate today that we're going to cover on DK and Yahoo. Like always, we will start off at pitching first. We'll work our way through the pitcher player pool. I'll touch on all the pitchers that I have interest in today that I feel like I'm going to have exposure to across all my lineups. And then we'll take a look at 3 specific hitters I like, and towards the end of the video, we'll cover some stacks I like for GPPs, some teams I'll be stacking up in my tournament lineups. But before we do get started, guys, as always, I would appreciate it if you would hit that like button down below. Make sure you subscribe to the channel as well. If you are new here, I do upload MLB videos pretty much every single day, and I also upload NBA videos every single day as well. Getting up a ton of content right now on my YouTube channel, so I would appreciate it if you would subscribe. We are getting very close to 19,000 subscribers, and then soon we'll be at 20,000 subscribers, which is a really big milestone for me. So hit that subscribe button, really appreciate it. Hit the like button as well. And if you would like, I do have some exclusive content available on Patreon that you can check out. If you really enjoy these videos and you want to get more content from me, I do post Monday through Friday. I post articles on Patreon, full slate breakdowns where I go through each position, talk about all my favorite plays. I do that for both basketball and baseball. And when NFL gets here, I'll have articles for NFL as well. I do updated core plays over on Patreon. I give some home run calls, and I'm always in Discord throughout the day, answering questions, helping you out, building your lineups and stuff. So if you want to get in on the Patreon, you can see all that I have to offer. It is linked down below in the description. Be sure to check that out. But let's go ahead and take a look at pitcher for today. We will start off at the top. Only got one guy over 10K on Draftkings, and that is Patrick Corbin. 10,400 in a matchup against the Mets. So I don't think Corbin's going to be someone, I really go out of my way to play today. I'm not saying he's a bad play here or that he's going to do bad against the Mets. He did face the Mets in his last start. Went 5 2/3 innings, allowed 8 hits, 3 runs. Did get 8 strikeouts, finished with 21.4 Draftkings points. I don't think Corbin's going to get blown up by any means. He's probably going to score about 20 to 25 DK points. I just don't know if I need to pay, 10,400 for that when I can get guys with similar upside and even better matchups for cheaper. Someone like Kyle Gibson, I really like today. Gibson 8,600 on DraftKings facing the Mariners. I've said it like all season. The Mariners are a team that I'm definitely going to look to pick on with opposing pitching. And Gibson is a guy that does have strikeout upside. He showed a lot of potential last season. He's pitching deep into games right now, which we love to see. Threw over 100 pitches in his last start, which is, kind of rare for this shortened season. We're not seeing guys go very deep into games. Even aces are getting pulled at like 85 pitches. Well, Gibson went 103 in his last start, pitched 6 innings, 4 hits, 3 runs, got 9 strikeouts in that start. This is a guy that, like I said, has strikeout upside. And if we do look at the Mariners, their team last season, 4th highest K rate against right-handed pitching at 25.8%. They don't have a good lineup at all. This is not a lineup you're scared of. Top to bottom, there's plenty of easy outs here. Only a 4.1 implied run total for the Mariners. Pretty nice favorites here. Minus 152 are the Rangers. And obviously, playing in Texas right now, it's a good pitcher's park. They got a roof to mitigate the heat. You're not seeing the crazy high run totals that you used to see in Texas. I really like Kyle Gibson here. I think he is one of my favorite pitchers. I do like the savings you get, dropping down from Corbin to Gibson. You nearly save over $2,000. And I think Gibson, I wouldn't be surprised if he's one of the highest scoring pitchers or even the highest scoring pitcher on the slate at 8,600. I like the matchup a lot for him against the Mariners. Definitely a guy I'm going to be going to on DK. And on Yahoo, I like him a lot as well. He is very cheap over on Yahoo. He's only $32. I think he definitely stands out as one of the better pitchers to go to on Yahoo. Like, you got Gibson at 32, whereas like Corbin's all the way up there at 51. Like, I would rather save, $19 and just play Gibson in a very friendly matchup. So I like him a lot in the 8K range. And then another guy I like in that price range is Lance McCullers. So Lance McCullers got absolutely rocked in his last start against the Diamondbacks. Went 3 2/3 innings, allowed 7 hits, 8 runs, only got 1 strikeout, negative 10 DraftKings points. He looked really good in his first start of the season against the Mariners, going 6 innings, 5 hits, 2 runs, 6 strikeouts. Since then, he's really struggled. He struggled his last 2 starts against the Diamondbacks and the Angels. Well, this is a very favorable spot for him today. Get to pitch at home against the Giants. This Giants team, we know this Giants team. It's not very good. They're not a team that strikes out a ton. Last season against right-handed pitching, they were about middle of the pack in terms of K rate. 12th highest K rate against righties, 23.4%. but it's just a really bad lineup. It's not a lineup you're scared of. Not a lot of great hitters here. Definitely some easy outs in this lineup, and I'm pretty sure Logan Webb's going to be pitching for the Giants today. The Astros should be able to rough him up, give Lance McCullers some run support to where he can get a win here. I know he struggled in his last start, and maybe that's a little bit of a concern, but I'm going to be on him today at 8,200. I think he is a little bit too cheap for this friendly matchup against the Giants. You pair him and Gibson together, and you still got 4,150 remaining per player, which you can definitely work around. We do have a Coors Field game on this slate. We got some other high totals as well, so it feels like a slate where you might want to try and go a little bit cheaper at pitching, go to some of those mid-range guys, so that way you can get in some of those Coors bats, maybe some Astros bats, and some other teams we'll talk about towards the end of the video when we get to stacks. But I do like McCullers a lot on DK, and on Yahoo, he looks very appealing over there. Only $31, just a little bit cheaper than Gibson. You compare Gibson and McCullers on Yahoo, and you still got $17 remaining per player, which is, for Yahoo pricing, that's a lot. That's equivalent to I would say $4,600 on Draftkings. You got a lot of salary to work with. So those are probably my two favorite pitchers today, but there are definitely some other ones that I really like. Even you got Dallas Keuchel for a couple hundred less facing the Tigers. Very friendly matchup for Dallas Keuchel. This is not a guy that I roster a ton just because I don't think he has a ton of strikeout upside, but he got 8 Ks in his last start against the Brewers, 7 innings, only allowed 5 hits, 1 run. This is a Tigers team that will strike out a good amount. They do have some guys that can hit left-handed pitching, decently. C.J. Cron, Jonathan Scope, the two guys that come to mind, do have really good numbers against left-handed pitching. When you get to the bottom of the lineup, though, there's a lot of easy outs here from the Tigers. The Tigers are another team that's, relatively heavy favorites here at minus 151. Hopefully, they're able to give Dallas Keuchel, enough run support to where he can qualify for a win if he can pitch deep enough into the game. So even though Keuchel, isn't a great strikeout pitcher, I do like him at 7,800. I think he is very interesting today against a really weak Tigers lineup that does have strikeouts in its lineup. And then Dustin May, another guy that I like. I played him a good amount in his last start against the Padres, the same matchup. And one of the reasons, I liked him so much in that last start was because the Padres, against right-handed pitching, they just strike out so much. And, we saw that come to fruition in his last start against San Diego. Went 6 innings, only allowed 3 hits, 2 runs, 1 walk, got 8 strikeouts, finished with 26 Draftkings points. You look at their numbers against right-handed pitching, their K rate, second highest K rate in the league last season against righties at 26.5%, just behind the Tigers. So very favorable strikeout matchup for May. The Padres do have some really good hitters at the top of that lineup, obviously Fernando Tatis. He's looked like one of the best hitters in the league so far this season, but still a guy that strikes out over 30%. Even Manny Machado will strike out a good amount. He's a good hitter, though. Will Myers, a good power hitter, but will strike out. A lot of Ks in that Padres lineup. So, I do have interest in Dustin May at 7,700, which is how friendly that strikeout matchup is. I think he is very appealing in the mid-range. And then if we're looking for some other options, there isn't much I like besides under May. Randy Dobnak I think is fine against the Brewers. The Brewers have kind of been ice cold this season. They did, kind of heat up on Sunday. I think they had a pretty, nice game Sunday. I can't remember how many runs they scored, but they did get to Sonny Gray. Dobnak's been good his last few starts against Cleveland and against Pittsburgh. 20 Draftkings points, 17 DK points. Not a guy that really gets a ton of strikeouts. Only 3, 4, and 1 strikeout through 3 starts. But this is a Brewers team that, has kind of struggled this season. Dobnak's only 7,500. You could go there, but that's probably it for me. I don't really see myself going to anyone else. I don't want to play Julio Teheran against Oakland, Steven Matz against the Nationals. I doubt I go there. Yarbrough against the Red Sox. That's probably a no for me. John Gray in Coors against the Diamondbacks. I doubt I go there. Don't want to play Garrett Richards against the Dodgers. Don't want to play Robbie Ray in Coors. Yeah, that's probably it for me in terms of pitching. I feel like, I'm going to have a pretty tight pool today. I think Gibson, McCullers, obviously my 2 favorite pitchers. I like Keuchel. I like May. I'll probably have Corbin in my player pool just, because I'll have 5 pitchers, but that'll probably be it for me. And then maybe Dobnak. So I'll probably have, exposure to probably 6 pitchers today. Even if I was playing 100 lineups, those might only be the 6 guys I have in my player pool. I just don't know if I want to go to any of these other guys. Even, for value, for cheap guys, there's not much down here that I like for value. So, yeah, that's kind of what I'm looking at for pitcher today. I think it's pretty straightforward. There's some just clear options that stand out head and shoulders above the rest of me. So we covered pitcher. We'll go ahead and talk about some bats now. So definitely a slate where I think we want to get some exposure to Coors Field. We do have a Coors game on the slate. 6.4 implied run total for the Rockies against Robbie Ray. 5.7 implied run total for the Diamondbacks against John Gray. So if I'm just picking one side here, I definitely give the edge to the Rockies. Robbie Ray, especially last season, he was a really good strikeout pitcher, had over a 30% K rate. But this season, the strikeouts haven't really been there for Robbie Ray. He has really struggled. He's made 3 starts so far against Houston, the Dodgers, and the Padres. 7 strikeouts against San Diego, but, that is a team that strikes out a lot. Against the Dodgers, only got 4 Ks through 4 2/3 innings. Against Houston, he got 6 Ks through 5 innings against Houston, but still, against Houston, he gave up 3 home runs. Against the Dodgers, gave up 2 home runs. Against the Padres, gave up a home run. This is a guy that does have some pretty big home run problems, and especially to right-handed hitters. Really struggled to righties last season, gave up a 337 WOBA to them. If we look at the home runs, 1.77 home runs per 9. And if we look at the hard contact, a ton of hard contact to both sides of the plate. 41.8% hard contact to lefties, 43.9% to righties. Very favorable spot for some of these right-handed hitters from the Rockies. They are incredibly expensive. If we just look at the pricing, Trevor Story and Nolan Arenado are both over 6K on DraftKings. Even guys like Matt Kemp and Chris Owings, they're not really cheap. Matt Kemp's $4,500, Chris Owings is $4K. But I'm hoping with the price tags, so high, that maybe that keeps their ownership down. So I do like going to these Rockies bats and trying to find a way to fit them in. I think Nolan Arenado is clearly one of the top bats on the slate. He's expensive on DK, but, I think he's worth the salary here. If we look over on Yahoo, Nolan Arenado, I don't know why in the hell he's $19 on Yahoo. He should be like $27, $28. You look at Trevor Story's price. Trevor Story, appropriately priced, is $26. Arenado for $19. He's going to be probably the highest owned hitter on Yahoo. It's hard to get away from him here against the lefty in Coors. If you just look at Arenado's numbers against left-handed pitching, this dude absolutely mashed left-handed pitching last season, especially when he was at home in Coors. I think he had an ISO over 300 against lefties, a WOBA near 500. Just insane numbers from Arenado. And I think he's got, if you buy into BVP, I think he's had success against Robbie Ray in the past. I really like Arenado on DraftKings. I think trying to find a way to fit him in is probably going to be the way that I go. Whether I'm full stacking the Rockies or maybe just want to play Arenado as a mini or as a one-off or in a mini stack, I want to get him in somehow, though, because I think, if there's anyone on the slate I'd have to pick to hit a home run, it'd probably be Arenado. And then if we go over to Yahoo, it's tough to get Trevor Story in there with Arenado. If you put Story in there with the pitchers we already have, you only have, 34.66 remaining per player. You could probably get it in. You might have to punt some positions. But for now, I'm going to leave Trevor Story out of the DraftKings core plays just for now. I will have some updated core plays posted over on Patreon. Once we get lineups, once we can see where guys we want to target, where they're in, where there's some value, if guys are batting towards the top of the order that we could target for value. For now, we'll just go with Arenado on DK. On Yahoo, though, we got a lot of salary to work with, $17 or $16 remaining per player still when we plug in Arenado. So I think jamming in Trevor Story, definitely going to be the way that I go over on Yahoo. You can get, it's kind of crazy, that you can do this, but you can get Kyle Gibson, Lance McCullers in there and get a full Rockies 5-man stack. It's so easy on Yahoo. Their pricing is so incredibly soft. It's something they need to fix, honestly. It just makes the slates so chalky. These Rockies bats are going to be 40% owned. But how do you not play them against in Coors? You can't just full fade the Rockies in Coors. Even if you're playing a few lineups, I would probably still want to have a Rockies stack. I think the way you get different on Yahoo, you're probably just going to jam in Arenado and Story, eat that chalk, but then maybe roster some guys at the bottom of the lineup. Maybe roster Charlie Blackmon against a lefty. People might not do that. I know David Dahl, if he leads off, he's only $14 on Yahoo, I think. Let me check their pricing real quick. Yeah, Dahl's only $14, so, even against a lefty, if he leads off, he's probably going to be pretty popular. But, rostering guys like Chris Owings at the bottom of the lineup, Matt Kemp, $17, he's not that cheap. I think it's just laughable that Nolan Arenado is $19 when Matt Kemp is $17. That just shows you how bad their pricing is. Why is Nolan Arenado $19 against a lefty in Coors? It doesn't really make much sense. But definitely like the Rockies on Yahoo. It's really hard to get away from them. They're easy to get in. You can get in 2 really good pitchers like Gibson, McCullers, and you can still fit in a 5-man Rocky stack pretty easily. You might have to punt 1 or 2 positions, but you can pretty easily get it in. So that's kind of the way I'm going to be going on Yahoo. Definitely like Arenado and Story. Very similar to Arenado. Trevor Story also matches left-handed pitching, has insane numbers against lefties, and when he's at home in Coors, his numbers are even better. So it's hard to get away from those guys for me. I think those are two of the top bats on the slate if you can find a way to fit them in. But then on the other side, I definitely want to attack Jon Gray as well. Jon Gray, a decent pitcher, but has shown that he can struggle to lefties. So far this season, he hasn't really been great. I'm going to pull up his game log real quick just so you guys can see. He's made 3 starts this season, 2 at home, 1 on the road. Last start at home against the Giants, pitched 6 innings, gave up 5 hits, 4 runs, did give up a homer, only 2 strikeouts. Against the Padres at home in Coors, 5 2/3 innings, allowed 4 hits, 3 runs, only 2 strikeouts. Like, he's just not getting strikeouts right now. This is a guy that does have a pretty high K rate. Last season, let me see what his K rate was last season. Against lefties, a 22.5% K rate. Against righties, 24.6%. So it's kind of concerning that he's only getting like 2 to 3 strikeouts per start, especially like against a Padres team that strikes out a ton, against a Giants team that's got a really weak lineup. Like, he should be getting 6, 7, 8 strikeouts against these lineups. That's definitely a concern. He's getting, kind of roughed up as well. I think we can definitely attack Jon Gray here, especially, in Coors, obviously. And if we look at some of the D-backs hitters, we'll talk about Yahoo pricing first. There's a couple bats that really stand out. Eduardo Escobar, I think, really stands out at $13. It just sucks because, he's third base only. So if you're playing Escobar, that means you're not playing Arenado. I guess if you want to, if you're playing a Diamondbacks, or if you're stacking the Diamondbacks, then obviously you could do that. But I mean, like Christian Walker, you got for $18, a guy that strikes out a good amount but has a ton of power. Cole Calhoun, I like a lot at $16. He has a ton of power. Even the bottom of the lineup guys are really cheap, like Carson Kelly, Jake Lamb, Nick Ahmed, all $10 on Yahoo, which is very affordable. There's some good value from the Diamondbacks. We don't really need the value because, we kind of went cheap at pitching. Gibson, McCullers still gave us a ton of salary, so we can definitely pay up. I do like paying up for Ketel Marte. I think, he's obviously one of the top second basemen on this slate. This is a guy that had great numbers against righties last season. He's a switch hitter, but I'm pretty sure his numbers are better from against righties than lefties. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure he is better against righties than lefties. This is still a guy, though, that can hit well against both sides of the plate. Just a great hitter. I mean, has power, has speed as well. Only 1 home run on the season, but still, this is a guy that puts the ball in play, doesn't strike out much, in Coors Field. I think Marte has had like a ton of success in Coors throughout his career as well. On Yahoo at $21, I love him as one of the top second basemen. Definitely going to be in my Diamondback stacks. Definitely going to be using him as a one-off, mini stacks. Like, definitely one of my favorite plays overall on the slate, along with like Arenado and Story. Like, that just shows you get Gibson, McCullers, Ketel Marte, Arenado, Story. Like, you literally have 2 of the top projected pitchers on the slate, in my opinion. 3 of the top projected hitters on the slate, and you still have $14 to work with, which is, you can easily work with on Yahoo, given that, guys like, you can get these guys down here like Kelly Lamb for $10. Tony Walters, not the best hitter, but he's $7 on Yahoo. You got David Dahl for $14. It's kind of stupid, man. Like, you can get both Gibson and McCullers in a full core stack in with how soft Yahoo's pricing is. But yeah, that's kind of what I'm liking on Yahoo. Now on DraftKings, I definitely like Ketel Marte over there as well. I think he's a little bit too cheap, honestly. He's only $5K on DraftKings. I thought he was going to be like up there with Arenado and Story around the $6K mark. He's cheaper than guys like Altuve, Muncy, even fucking Donovan Solano for $5,100 against Lance McCullers. He's cheaper than Solano. I definitely like Marte on Yahoo. I think he is one of the top projected second basemen on this slate. Love him here against Jon Gray in Coors Field. Like I said, Marte is just a great hitter. Has some power, has some speed. 5K is one of my top second basemen for sure. And then looking at other guys we could target from the Diamondbacks. So they do have a ton of value in their lineup. Marte is the only hitter that's 5K or above. Everyone else is under 5K. And once you get to Escobar down, everyone is under 4K. Escobar, $3,700. Peralta, $3,900. Carson Kelly, $3,900. Jake Lamb, he's been god-awful this season, but he is $2,700 in Coors Field. Nick Ahmed, $3,700. I know Jake Lamb has been terrible this season. I mean, this dude's literally batting like under 100 for the season. But he is, $2,700 on DraftKings, and he's batting in Coors Field. I'm assuming he's going to be in the lineup. I mean, he's in the projected lineup. I know they've been like kind of giving him days off, though, because he's been so bad. Assuming he is in the lineup, he's definitely going to be one of the top values for me at only $2,700. I mean, if there was ever a spot for Jake Lamb to get things going, it would be here in Coors Field. against John Gray, who does struggle to lefties, like we said earlier. Gave up a 345 WOBA to lefties last season. Didn't give up a ton of home runs, just 1.04 home runs per 9, but still a pretty high WOBA to lefties. A lot of hard contact as well, 43.5% hard hit rate against left-handed hitters. I like Jake Lamb a ton at 2,700. I think he is one of the top values. I kind of, when it comes to Coors Field, I do kind of, play Coors Field a lot. Rarely do I just full fade it. Usually I'm always stacking Coors just because I think, if you look throughout like the last couple of years, Coors Field, like you'll have some crazy high-scoring games. I don't know exactly why it's such a good hitter's park. You can definitely, I'm sure there's articles about it. I know it has something to do with, being in Colorado with the altitude. The ball just carries more in Coors Field. And also their outfields are so spacious. So it's very easy to, for balls to find the gap in Coors Field because of how big the outfield is. That's why it's such a good hitter's park. That's why you always see high run totals in Coors Field. It's always whenever there's a Coors Field game, it's always a game that, gets attention, something you want to stack up most of the time. And you can do it. You can stack up Coors and still, have a contrarian lineup. You can get different with other guys, with other spots, whether that's rostering a low-owned pitcher or maybe rostering some of the lower-owned bats in the Coors Field game. You can always find a contrarian way to stack Coors. So, yeah, guys, that's kind of what I'm looking at for this 9-game slate. We talked about some pitchers I like, some bats I like. Now to end off the video, we'll cover some stacks real quick just before we end the vid. So, obviously, Coors Field, going to garner a lot of attention. I think the Rockies are my favorite stack today. The Diamondbacks are my second favorite stack. I know that might be a chalky, or I'm not really going out on a limb. I know that's going to be a very popular thing to say, but I'm going to be stacking up Coors. I'm not going to tell you guys that, or if I'm saying I'm stacking Coors and I'm stacking Coors, I'm not going to get on here and say, oh, it's Coors Field. It's going to be high owned. I'm not going to play it because I'd be lying, because I'm definitely going to have some Coors stacks today, especially both sides. But I do prefer the Rockies. Just, if I'm only playing one lineup tonight, I'd probably go with the Rockies. I'd probably do a 5-man Rocky stack, 3-man D-back stack if that's possible. I think you can definitely make it work because of how cheap the Diamondbacks are, especially the bottom of their lineup. On Yahoo, though, definitely going to have a ton of stacks with both of these teams, just mixing and matching top to bottom, getting exposure to all these guys, because if this game does wind up being high scoring, it's a good chance that everyone's producing, everyone's getting at least 4 at-bats mostly. So I want to get exposure to both sides. But some other teams we could look at, maybe, to get off of Coors. I don't mind the White Sox here against Michael Fulmer. I believe Michael Fulmer is going to open the game, but then Daniel Norris is going to follow him. Daniel Norris, not a very good pitcher, really struggles to righties. So, guys like Eloy Jimenez, Luis Robert, Yohan Moncada, even against lefties, I don't mind him. Grandal as well, Encarnacion. Edwin Encarnacion's 3,800. If you're going to get him against Daniel Norris for 3,800, that looks like a great play at first base. So definitely like the White Sox. Steven Matz is someone I probably stack against too much. I just don't think he's that good. He definitely has times where he just gets absolutely blown up. I could see the Nationals getting to him here. Guys like Starlin Castro, Adam Eaton are really, really cheap. Even Howie Kendrick for 4K does have some power. I don't mind some Nationals bats, but I don't think they're going to be a core stack for me. Same with the Twins. The Twins are just always a team that I stack. Adrian Hauser, I think, is a good pitcher. He's pretty talented, but the Twins just have such a good lineup. They can score runs against anybody. So I don't mind stacking the Twins here. But yeah, I feel like this is going to be definitely a slate where I'm kind of loading in on Coors, just getting exposure to this Coors game in as many different ways as possible, and then just mixing and matching some other stacks like, the White Sox we talked about. The Nationals you could go to. Even some Rangers against Justin Dunn, I don't mind there. Some Dodgers against Garrett Richards you could always consider. But I think that's probably it for stacks for me in terms of teams I'm looking to stack up. I think we covered everything, guys, for this 9-game slate. Broke it all down. I know I didn't go through each position like I do for NBA. That would just kind of take too long for MLB. There's too many hitters to talk about, just too many guys to mention. I do go through each position, though, in my article on Patreon. So if you do want to get access to that, my Patreon content is linked down below in the description. You can get access to my article that I post Monday through Friday. You can get access to my updated core plays that I post every single day. You can also get in our Discord chat, where I'm in there throughout the day to answer any questions you have, whether that's lineup-specific questions or if you just want to talk through the slate. I'm in there throughout the day, so definitely check out the Patreon link down below. If you guys did enjoy this video, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, click the notification bell, and I think that's it, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed. We will see you in the next video. Peace.